Taipei. I've been at the Lake Oswego Review for 22 years, working under the privilege and the guidance of Mr. William Blizzard, known as Bill. This is a personal lead for me. I am going to be going to Mexico City to watch Don Cholander swim in the 1968 Summer Olympics, and to see if we can't convince the Olympic Committee to do something about people, swimmers especially, who get sick during the Olympics, like Greg Charlton. Then I will sail from Mexico City to Taipei, learning a little Chinese on the way. I'm going to be assuming the position of the very first female editor of a large English newspaper, the China Post. I'll be a trailblazer because there has not been a woman who has had this position, even though I am considered a legitimate journalist. They will think of me as a foreign devil. I spent 14 months in China and then returned to the United States. My last article, in it I said that Taipei was a beautiful spot, and I hoped that my beloved readers and community of Lake Oswego would come to visit and would come to see me, and I hoped to be back at the review 2 years hence to my now uncluttered desk. I did not return to the review, but I did return to the U.S. Elizabeth Ryan passed away in 1995. I believe she was 85. She left a legacy, and some of those are here with us today. I would like to introduce them to you. They are not sitting up here with me, but they are in the audience, and if you would raise your hand. We have first, her daughter Sally passed away, so she is not here. But daughter Shirley Ryan Cronquist is here. Shirley, raise your hand. Yay. And Shirley's son, Mark Cronquist, is here. Shirley's daughter, Lois, couldn't be with us today. She's up at Lake Ridge. But her husband is here with us, and his name is Martin Mole. Shirley's brother, Beth Ryan, is not able to be here today, but he was a police officer for the Lake Oswego PD. I can't remember how I met Shirley, but I think it was through her brother and my brother because they were both in law enforcement together. So, let's find out who was Beth Ryan. She was, that's the China Post, that's the newspaper that she worked for. And apparently she edited this, and she was the community news editor for the China Post. Here she is, Mom and Grandma. Mark, I have to ask you this question. Who is this?
That's my Aunt Sally.
That's what I thought. Mm-hmm. Okay. This is daughter Sally, mm-hmm. Shirley, mm-hmm. and Bob. Mm-hmm. And surely I was gonna put in that picture of you in front of Lakewood School when you were about 10, but I didn't.
It's okay, there's a copy on the table.
Sally was a farmer. She lived at Sunnyhill Farm, which is up by Oswego Pioneer Cemetery. And she did all kinds of things on that farm. She was also an award-winning journalist. This is what most people tend to know her as. How many of you have heard of Beth Ryan or Elizabeth Salway Ryan? Okay, there's a few, couple. She was a writer and an editor. This is a copy from her last article where she's saying goodbye to the readers. This is a story, I believe she wrote this when she attended the University of Oregon, majored in journalism, and when I read this, it sounds like she's writing about her life in the dorm, and I don't know if this was ever published or not, but Mark kindly sent it to me, and it's a fun read because she uses a lot of language, like middies was something you wore. Beth Ryan was also a traveler, and I believe Mark says this is her right here.
She's in the back with the weird glasses.
I'm sorry.
Middle of the back row.
Yeah. This was in Polynesia. Where were these taken?
They came somewhere in Polynesia, Japan. They came on the same package as that group photo. Those are early ectochromes, it looks like, from the fade.
She was also an avid gardener and an advocate of green spaces, and because of that, the city of Lake Oswego commemorated a nature preserve in her name, and it's called Beth Ryan Nature Preserve. This is Shirley's husband, right here. Right, Shirley? And sadly, he has passed away. Beth Ryan was also an instructor. She taught classes at Clackamas Community College, which I have learned more about Beth Ryan that I didn't know in preparing for this. She's just somebody I have really, really emulated. I've never met her, except vicariously by following her writing and her photographs. One of the classes that she taught was I would call it a genealogy class, and it was called Writing Family History. And the stories in the book are from the students writing. They put together a book. They each had to choose one of their best articles about their family, and they put together this book. Beth Ryan had it published and edited it. I don't think there's an article in here that she actually wrote. One of the interesting things that I discovered about this book is on the back, there's it should be on the inside because it's kind of like an introduction by an author whose name is Alfred Powers, excuse me. He was a historian, he was an author at PSU, he was a book collector and a bookbinder. Now remember those words, bookbinder. This book came from Oregon State University, so the Lake Oswego Library didn't have a copy of this, it had to come from somewhere else. I got the book, and on the front of it was a note that said, "Handle carefully, this book is fragile." And I thought, oh wow. So when I opened it up and started looking at it, the pages started to fall apart. And I looked at it very closely, and to me, it looks like it has been the pages have been hand stitched and then glued to the cover. So I thought to myself, did Alfred Powers bind this book for Beth Ryan? It's very, did he?
No, it was printed at Great Bright Copy Centers in downtown Lake Oswego.
Well, it would be fun to think that he did. So that's a little bit about, from my perspective, an overall view of Beth Ryan. She was an amazing woman. So much about her that I did not know. Now, let's talk to, she was also a photographer, and quite a good photographer.
Our camera's right over the table.
I would like to have family members talk to you a little bit. So I'm going to ask Shirley. Okay, this is her photo collection, and we're going to look at that in a little while. Shirley, do you want to talk a little bit about the daffodil cake recipe? Okay.
Let's talk turkey burgers over pine cones.
How about, what was it like growing up with a working mom or living on the farm?
We all worked.
Do I need to give her the microphone?
No, it's okay.
She said, we all worked. She and her brother and her sister and her grandfather all worked at the farm.
And what did they do specifically?
Mom,
What?
what did you do on the farm?
Pitch hay.
All kinds of chores?
Pitched hay, cleaned out the stalls, mucked the manure, cut off a chicken's head and it ran around.
One thing I'd like to know is, how did you get to school? Did you walk from the farm to Lakewood?
We walked.
And at the time, Shirley,
It
was it called Oswego School or Lakewood Elementary?
What was it?
Oswego Grammar School?
Do you remember what Lakewood was called?
I think it was probably Lakewood at the time. It was a Oswego school prior to that. There are stories from Aunt Sally about them
Well, originally it was Oswego Grammar School, and then it became Lakewood, but I can't remember.
Oswego Grade School.
What was it?
Oswego Grade School.
Oswego Grade School, okay.
There's a photo of she and my aunt riding a horse to it.
Oh, yes, because they weren't yeah. Do you know where Sunnyhill area is? Do you know where Oswego Pioneer Cemetery is? Most of you in here, up on Stafford Rd.
By Lake Ridge High School.
Yeah, the farm where Shirley grew up is up in that area. And the house is still there, and it is considered a historic home, and I believe it's on the historic register.
Yep.
And Lois and
Martin.
live in that historic house. Anything you want to say, Shirley, about Mom as a writer? Was it difficult living with an award-winning writer?
Was it difficult living with an award-winning writer?
No.
Yeah, we could talk about cooking all day long.
The cooking was terrible.
I'll vouch for that.
I'll share a little bit about the daffodil cake story in case you're wondering, because I had no idea what it was, but Shirley participated in a history chat group that I led over at the Springs, and she wanted to know if I could find this recipe for a daffodil cake. And I thought, what in the devil is a daffodil cake? So I went online to check it out, and I discovered that it is a cake that represents a daffodil. So you have two cakes actually that are marbled together. You have angel food cake, a white cake, and then you have sponge cake, which is yellow. The one I made was green, and and then you marble the two together, and you get this wonderful effect of yellow and white, which represents the daffodils. And the cake was invented by homemakers in the 1930s because most of them made angel food cakes, but then you have all of the egg yolks left over because an angel food cake uses egg whites. Well, what were they going to do with the egg yolks? So somebody decided, well, we can make another cake and we'll put the two together. And this kind of became Easter traditional food. And the recipe was printed in Better Homes and Gardens cookbook way back in the 30s. So I made one of these. Those of you who know Larry McClure, he tried to talk me into making one to bring today, and I came real close. But in order to make it really right, you have to have an angel food cake pan, which I don't have. And I thought, I don't think I'll make it, but that's what it is, and it's very easy to do. It's not difficult. Then the first one I did was really kind of fun. So now you know what a daffodil cake is. Let's see, where am I going? Shirley, you want to add anything? Do you want to add anything for Shirley? Is there anything you want to add?
You want to say anything, Mom?
No, I just remember 7-minute frosting, and it was white.
Oh, the cake was white?
Frosting.
Frosting.
Oh, yes.
7-minute frosting.
I found 2 or 3 recipes. One of them had buttercream frosting, one of them had powdered sugar, and I don't remember what the other one had. And one of them actually had daffodils that they had decorated on the top of it with, but I thought that was, no, I wasn't going to try that one.
Well, I found out from Shirley on our drive over that she's convinced that the recipe's in our attic. So she's convinced that the recipe is in our attic.
Oh.
We have an attic full of stuff, so.
Well,
I'll see if I can find it for you.
I would love that. When she asked me about it, I thought, well, wouldn't Beth have, and this was something you told me that you and Mom did together, and I thought, well, wouldn't Beth have handed this down? And I said, well, maybe Lois has it. No, Lois isn't really into cooking. So, well, that's exciting that you might even have the recipe. That's very cool.
GB wasn't into cooking either.
She did do that.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mark to talk a little bit about, I have some notes here, some things I wanted you to share. One thing, what did Beth do after she returned to the United States after her stint in China?
Well, she never stopped writing, and her articles were in all sorts of publications. She taught the genealogy class, the leaves from family trees.
So did she do freelance when she came
continued
back?
to freelance, yes. There are at least 2 versions of that book, 2 different classes. There may be more. There's one with the goldenrod color that is entirely different content. I gave Oswego Heritage at least 6 of those, so they should have those. She's always been a photographer. If you notice the one of Don Scholander, he's the guy with the medals over there.
Did she take photography classes?
I don't know if she ever took classes, but she was a very good photographer. She used a Mamiya and a Rolleiflex and then an Exacta in Minoltas. Her Rolleiflex I have restored. If you look back at the Don Scholander photo, it's square, and all the Rolleiflex photos are square. She saw a series with Sally, I think while Sally was in college or maybe in high school, of the building of Big Cliff and Detroit Dam. I think you have those photos up there. And those are, of course, all square, rolling format. So it's very easy to identify the camera she was using at the time. She later used a Mamiya rangefinder, which a lot like this one.
But Mark is using grandma's camera today.
Well, yeah, it's right over there.
Oh, it's over there.
Anybody can go pick it up and look at it. I was going to, but I shooting videos here, so.
Do you want to talk a little bit about Ben Herlampman and the
Yeah, I mean, Ben Herlampman was Oregon's poet laureate, prolific author. I loaned to Lewis and Clark Library literally 2 tables full of stuff, including Beth's shotgun, his fishing reel. He was very close to my grandmother. There's all the original manuscripts.
The operative word there is close.
To my grandmother. Sally says she loved and worshipped the man. My aunt Sally, late Aunt Sally. She spent the last 10 years or so of her life traveling around the U.S., mostly in her Volkswagen Bug. And there's a book over there in the black binder called The Magic of Ben Herlampman. This was a typescript in her basement when she passed. So I had the typescript bound, and I made 10 copies, and they were it was hideously expensive.
Let's talk a little bit about just some fun kinds of things. What were the dry parties?
Oh,
This does not have anything to do with politics.
No, she had friends who were politicians, artists, poets, authors, Teresa Gershow, who did the Trouble Blind and Boy, like Oregon's Iron Dream. You met all these people that you would go to Grandma's house, and Grandma was not a drinker. But like McCall was at a couple of these parties, and he would go out and have a pot in the center circle. And then you're a little kid, you're knee-high to a grasshopper, and you're meeting all of these interesting, inspirational people. And she attracted people. She had a whole circle of friends, and they got together and had wild conversations. And it was just she was a very social animal. She probably invented Facebook. And Facebook or Twitter been around or Instagram, she'd have been all over it. But, you know, she had this wide circle of very talented, very inspirational friends. And it was just interesting honor to be a part of them. I remember packaging shit for Christmas. She'd send out little coin envelopes full of seeds. Yeah, my mom's laughing. She had mountains of them, and she shanghaied my sister and I into packaging them. They were going all over the world. I mean, I remember till my tongue was dry by looking at these stupid coin envelopes full of these seeds.
Can you all hear what they're saying?
I'm trying to speak up, right? So yeah, my tongue got dried out from licking hundreds, and I'm sure my sister did too, of these little coin envelopes full of seeds. I mean, Grandma would have every bowl in the kitchen full of various and sundry seeds. It's like, pinch of this, a pinch of that. You're gonna put these on, and she would write in her scrawly thing what they were. Wish I'd saved one.
This is a photograph that Mark took with Grandma B's old camera of Jimmy Carter in 1976.
Yeah, I was a high school freshman, and he was speaking as part of the Mock Democratic Convention, and she handed me an Exacta, and what has become an insanely valuable lens, I traded it in years ago, decades ago, and I was honored enough to meet Carter, and got photos of him with her old Exacta. She'd moved on, she kept her rolling, but she'd moved on to Reltos, because they were fundraiser.
I loved what you told me about the Christmas gifts.
Oh yeah, I mean, we met for Christmas in Oahu one year, and she insisted, or Mom or Dad insisted, on a live little tiny twig, the Charlie Brown Christmas tree. And wrapped on the Charlie Brown Christmas tree were like hotel soap, hotel.
Can you all hear what he's saying?
Oh, yeah, and sewing kits. They were all wrapped up, addressed to us from GB.
So did she actually find these things and wrap them up and put them on the tree?
Mom, did GB do the wrapping? Yeah, she has to, because my parents are saner than that. And there's no way my sister would do that either. My sister and I were saner than that. So, yeah, Christmas in Oahu, and she would have this little Charlie Brown tree with hotel soap.
I'm throwing this question out to you, Mark and Shirley. Rumor had it, or I read somewhere, that Beth used to early on ride her horse to collect her stories. Is that true?
What did she do?
Grandma Bean rode a horse for some of her writing and research? Probably.
Lois said she didn't think so, but I would believe it.
But her first car model, correct me, that I can recall was a 1966 white Volkswagen Bug. And she had that for about 10 years until Uncle Bob totaled it because it was T-Bug, it wasn't his fault. And she got a yellow Volkswagen Bug, and then she had a Toyota Camry, or Toyota something or other. So I would imagine that there was a time when she was collecting words by horseback.
So
Because she had horses.
the automobile in this photograph, this is the cover of my book. It's a Beth Ryan photo. I love it. It is my favorite photograph. Is that her car?
Is that what?
Her car was that Gigi's car?
No, is that my grandfather's car?
Her father's car.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Studebaker.
I love this because it shows a little bit of the farm, shows the horse and the car.
Did you hear that,
It makes you
Nancy?
kind of wonder, what in the world?
Shirley says it's a Studebaker. I don't know if you heard that.
Yes, a Studebaker. Thank you, Shirley. I didn't know, and the horse's name I finally found out was Jenny.
Oh, wait, he's still thinking about it.
Mark, one last thing. I know you could talk all afternoon, but I want to show some slides of children, or Beth's photos. You talk about her getting sick and the cough remedy.
Well, she came back from the Orient, and I'm not sure if it was Taiwan or one of the many other trips she made, with a dry, hacking cough. Is that how you describe it, Mom? It wasn't anything. She went to the doctor and whatever, but her self-remedy was DMSO, which is an industrial solvent, and brewer's yeast on everything.
That's my father.
Before I show some of the photographs to that Beth Ryan took, I would like Martin to talk a little bit about his project. Obviously, Beth Ryan has left a huge legacy. She left a huge photographic collection at the Lake Oswego Public Library, the Nature Preserve, and I feel like I'm following in her footsteps. Mark obviously has. Martin is writing a book, so there's a lot of her still floating around. So do you want to talk a little bit about your project?
Yeah, real briefly. Well, so I met Lois at the University of Oregon, Beth's granddaughter, and very soon after met Bob and Shirley, and they very quickly, I realized I was married, well, I knew I was going to marry Lois the second I met her, and I knew that I was marrying into a very special family. And then meeting Beth, Mark's right, she had a journalist curiosity. She, when you saw her, she would just want to know.
That's a necessity.
Yes, so she asked more questions than she talked about herself. And anytime I saw her, she just wanted to know. And when she found out I was going to law school, she wanted to know all about that. And then we got married at the house at Sunnyhill, which we call, and then ended up, we were lucky enough to buy the house from the family. And I guess, I just, and I adored Beth. She was just a very unique person, and I was very proud that she came to love me. And I think living in that house all these years, I guess it just by osmosis, somehow I ended up, through my buddy Milt, we decided we were just on a walk and talked about all the unique things about Lake Oswego, and not a history book. I let Nancy know because that's already taken very well, but just a story.
There's always room for more.
I am not a historian, but I do. My actually turns out my parents grew up in Lake Oswego. They met at Lake Oswego High School. My dad went to grade school with Lois's uncle. We didn't know at the time, so I feel like just kind of come to it naturally. So just a book about some of the unique things about Lake Oswego. Every town has its own unique things, but Lake Oswego, whether it's the Pioneer Cemetery, whether it's the Heritage House, whether it's Lake Oswego Hunt, which is a public horse farm that is unique, whether it's the rowing on the Willamette, or more modern things like Eubanks and their Great Rubens. And so I'm calling it Lake Oswego 47 because the town was founded in 1847. So it's the 47 unique things about Lake Oswego. And Nancy's given me a lot of advice, which I appreciate, because I have no idea what I'm doing.
All right, let's look at some photographs that Beth Ryan took. I think you'll recognize, whoops, what the heck am I doing? Oh. Well. There we go. Does anybody recognize the gentleman on the left?
Don Scholander.
Yeah, Don Scholander. Yes, that is Don Scholander when she went to Mexico.
Tennis player.
The other gentleman with the tennis racket is a gentleman by the name of Bill Bauer. He was in my high school class. I have to say I'm a little biased with some of these photos because she took a lot of photos in 1965. He was Lake Oswego High School's tennis champ. Obviously, Beth Ryan took a lot of sporting. She took photos of almost everything. Whenever a new business opened, she was there. If she went to city council meetings, she did a lot of mundane stuff. Oh, Mark, I forgot to ask you about the Francis story, but we'll save that for later. I was going to mention something else about this. So, Beth Ryan ate a lot of pancakes because she photographed for almost 22 years the Lake Oswego Lions Club pancake breakfast, and there's a Lake Oswego Lions Club right in the back of the room there. She was there photographing the breakfast and eating pancakes. Okay, she also photographed just everyday life. This was a 1962 snowstorm that we had. I'm going to point out this first, the one right here. I threw that in there because I grew up 2 doors from that house. That was a Spanish house. It was on the lake. The fellow who owned it was a big developer in downtown Portland. He used to entertain movie stars, and I remember seeing Yul Brynner water skiing on Lake Oswego. That was pretty exciting. The other photograph is either down where the canals are. I don't think it's down by the duck pond. Do you know what I'm talking about? The duck pond is the little lake that's down close to downtown. And at the opposite end of the lake is where the canals spread out. And I think that's where that photograph is taken. It's just kind of an everyday scene that she shot. Here's another bias of mine. These ladies graduated in my class, 1965. Don't do the math, please. This was our May Fete, which is our big spring dance, Queen Mary Lou Davis. And I even remember the names of the ladies on the court. They are Nancy Holden, Pat Parker, Lynn Adams, and Sharon Frank. Now, I had to really go back and think about that so I could impress you with their names. This was a parade on A Avenue celebrating May Fete. I wish I knew who the drivers of the cars were. That would have been kind of fun. But that was another thing. Parades was something that she photographed. I love this photograph. Does anybody know where Lake Oswego's swimming pool is? Have any of you been up there to the pool? No. Well, this is before the pool. She shot this photograph. This is the plot that was designated to have the construction of the swimming pool on it. It's hard for me to believe this. I graduated in 1965. I swam on the swim team. In 1965, 4 and 5, there was no pool. So where did we practice? At Merrillhurst. Merrillhurst had a gorgeous swimming pool. The tile was Spanish tile, it was beautiful, except it had this big ugly dome that went over the top of it. So we had to take the bus over to Merrillhurst, then we practiced there until we built the Lake Oswego High School pool. I love this photo. Anybody recognize maybe the woman in the background here? He was a very well-known poet in Lake Oswego. Was our poet laureate. Anybody?
William Stafford.
His initials are W.S.
William Stafford.
Yes, that is Dr. William Stafford way over on the right, and his wife Dorothy, and the children from that side, Kit, Barb, Brett, no, that's Kit. Kim, Barb, Kit, I can't remember her name, and Dr. Stafford. So there's just some people that she photographed. This really intrigues me. Mark sent this to me. Beth Ryan photographed the beginning of the construction of the dam at Detroit Lake. And he sent me a whole series of photographs about this. It's fascinating. I only put in these because we probably would have been here all afternoon looking at the other ones. But and there she is feeding the deer.
That's not her.
Oh, that's not her?
No, she took a picture of something.
Well, I was wondering about that, but I thought, well, somebody could have taken the picture of her.
That's a construction worker feeding a deer that they adopted apparently. She also shot building the Big Cliff Dam just down from it. I think there's some other dam photos that were shot for the Journal, is where I believe who commissioned these.
Let's see what else we have here. And then here's the one Mark took. This is my favorite. This is on the cover of my book. By the way, the book I have, if you want to buy it, okay. I'm going to sell you some. And who am I? I'm a public history storyteller, a published author, and a blogger. So what I do is I write a blog, and I write books, and I tell stories just like this. And I love to do this. And I would like to thank you for coming this afternoon and hearing Beth Ryan's story. There's much more to the story. If you want to stay connected to me, here's some ways you can do it. And I'd be happy to stay and chat with you, and I'm sure Mark would too. Thank you very much.